Left of the box. And I will check the sandbox, but first I'm going to see if any poll results have come in yet, because it's been over an hour. Oh, okay, so results are starting to come in and the Conservatives have already won. That was fast. I knew they were going to win, but I guess we didn't have to wait for many of the polls to come in because there was a delay, so a lot of polls had time to actually calculate, but here we go. So Nova Scotia 2024, again, 28 seats are needed for a majority. 48 seats reporting. Progressive Conservative, 36. Democrat, 8. Liberal, 3. Other 1.
This might bring us back to a question later on in the night. Did that strategy they used by focusing on some ridings and not all of them, did that pan out for them?
I just got a little bit ahead of myself because I'm thinking always, I'm just
So it says voter turnout has been down.
We have one other, as you'll see on the bottom, and I just wanted to double check. You may have seen me touch on that.
Just trying to see. I'm wondering how Tammy, the person that had to run as an independent, I wonder how she's doing. Unfortunately, she's not doing well. And she was the incumbent, too. But she's sitting at 14.9%, and the PC at 56.9%. Getting more than half is really something. The Conservative parties do so much damage to people, harm so many people, are responsible for so much in the way of like social murder, and yet they get elected over and over again because the Liberals and the NDP do such a piss poor job of speaking to the people and offering them something to vote for. Conservatives offer them something to vote for. They're absolute lies, but they give people something like just, you know, a reason to go out to the polls, whereas the Liberals and the NDP constantly fail at that. All they offer is the status quo. Nobody wants the status quo. But this also goes against the whole idea of like, oh, incumbency is no longer the future. No. If they're conservatives, the incumbency still works very well. And so from the sounds of it, they're going to be in a better position than they were before, with even a larger majority. It is so frustrating. The amount of damage that party is allowed to do to this country, and so many people just put their head in the fucking sand. And they can't be bothered to get involved. They don't pay attention to politics, but they bitch and whine and complain. Like, oh no, the Justin Trudeau government is doing this and that and the other thing, but they don't even know anything about how jurisdiction works or who's responsible for what. So they're always blaming the wrong person for the things that are wrong in their life. You know, it is so frustrating how politically illiterate this country is. Like, if we could actually get an NDP majority in the federal government and they actually followed through with what they promised, we would never have a different government. Because when you talk about just policies and what people want, the NDP offers that, but they don't communicate it, they don't tell it, and then they slide back and they try to capitulate and make deals and all that sort of bullshit. But there's just a complete and utter lack of political literacy in this country, and it's disgusting.
Count below us, 36 for the PCs, majority government now. NDP have made some gains in official opposition
Maybe
position
not
right
as much
now.
as they wanted, though. They had 6 seats going into this. They're at 9. I mean, they must be thinking perhaps they wanted more out of this after all that campaigning, but that's where it stands
well,
right
I think
now.
Claudia Chender would take being the opposition for sure, and that's how it stands right now. Let's go to Sky Broaden-Blom, who's at NDP headquarters in downtown Halifax. What's the reaction there so far, Sky, as these results just came pouring in?
Like, I already knew the Conservatives were going to win. There's just, it'd be nice to see them win by not as much, you know, for that distance to be closed a bit, but nah. And like, part of my frustration again is if there was an election in Ontario right now, Doug Ford would win. And there's debate over when he's going to call an early election, because he is, and so is the federal government. So some are theorizing that he's going to want to call it before the federal election because he wants to campaign and run against Justin Trudeau, because it almost worked in BC. But then another theory, kind of like what I had, is that he might wait till after, like just after the election, so that people have election fatigue, because a lower voter turnout in Ontario always benefits the Conservatives, because they get in with just under 40% of votes. They get in. And again, when you look at the people who actually turned out to the polls and voted for the Conservative Party in Ontario, the Conservatives got a majority with 18% of possible votes. The amount of destruction, and we'll get more into Doug Ford later on, the amount of destruction he has done to this province, the useless spending, the privatization of services, the amount of social murder he is responsible for. So many people would be alive today had any other party had gotten into power in this province. Yet so many people are just too ignorant of what's going on, and they just hear about the beer or the idea of the fancy tunnel under the highway and all these little bells and whistles, and they don't know about the underfunding, the lack of health care, all that sort of stuff. If it doesn't directly affect them, they don't care. And then there is that whole contingent of people in the Conservative Party who just want to see other people suffer. It's sick. So previously it looks like they had 34 seats. And it looks like the Liberals were the official opposition. And that's the thing that the federal Liberals here aren't picking up on, is how much people hate the Liberals right now. Because from the looks of it, it's the NDP. Again, it's still early-ish. The NDP is going to be the official opposition. The Liberals are just, they are being obliterated in by-elections, in elections. The amount of ego Justin Trudeau needs, like, it is inconceivable to me right now that he could look at what's happening and think, no, I am totally the person who should be in charge of the Liberals come the next election. When, if you look at the by-elections, you look at the provincial elections, the Liberals are being decimated. Like, I'm very worried about this next federal election, that the Conservatives will get a supermajority, like that's a thing in Canada, and the Bloc Québécois will be the official opposition, because the Liberals and New Democrats will be obliterated in that election. Just completely obliterated. So my prediction for the next federal election, Conservative majority, the Bloc being the official opposition. Bad lefty, yes, the PCs are Conservatives. They call themselves progressive Conservatives, like those two words belong together. Pernicornian? Sorry, I totally did not say your name right. Literally gave our healthcare system to private interests. We're so fucked. And that's happening across the country, yet so many people are still voting for Conservatives, despite the quality of life deteriorating and getting worse. And yeah, it's not like life has been improving under Justin Trudeau, but it's going to get so much worse under Pierre Poilievre, just completely. And just wish that there was something more I could do about it. Because at this point, it's not even a matter of trying to win the next election. It's a matter of trying to get things in place to fight what's about to happen. To go out there and protest and rally and push back against everything that Pierre Poilievre is about, he will try to do. It's about organizing. Like, that's what it is about now. And we need to start that now so that we're ready to go day one. But I can't get on to bigger shows and stuff to be able to talk about it, which would be nice. Just going to quickly check to see just how bad things are in Nova Scotia. Okay, this is really ridiculous. They only have 55 seats in Nova Scotia. That is huge. That is a huge majority. And we're looking at the equivalent federally in the next election, unless there are drastic changes now. But the establishment within the NDP and the Liberals, they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. Like the amount of privatizing Tim Houston has been doing to the healthcare system, what he's been doing to people who are unhoused and everything, like the policies they put in place hurt people. It makes me so mad. It makes me so mad. And just like so profoundly sad for all the people that are going to be harmed because of these conservative governments. But conservatives are just so, like a lot of them are just like, ha, liberals lose, lefties lose, the progressives lose, ha, laughing at you. Look at those lip tears and stuff like that. I'll be sad when they die too, because they get turned away from the ER. Yeah, bad lefty. Wow, that's a political massacre. Yeah. And we're looking at that federally too. It's just, I hate to end on a sour note, but let's just check to see how the election is going. Yeah, so 2018 of the 2,236 polls have reported. I don't think the Democrats are going to pull this one out. The New Democrats, the NDP. So they have gained more than 10 seats. The Conservative Party has gained more than 10 seats. The Liberals have lost 15 seats or so because they were at 17. Democrats, the NDP have gained just a couple seats, just a few seats. So something that I again like to point out when election season comes and people are like, oh no, you can't split the vote between, the NDP and the Liberals. You have to vote for the Liberals so you're not splitting the vote and blah, blah, blah. Far more people will switch their votes between Liberal and Conservative. So the Conservatives are winning at the loss of the Liberals, not because the NDP is taking any votes away. But they're just being decimated across the board, the Liberals, in by-elections and provincial elections. They are getting decimated. And on a federal level, Justin Trudeau still just has his head in the bucket of maple syrup. Just, if there isn't the next election, unless something drastically changes within the NDP and the Liberal government, I'm calling it now, the Conservatives will get in with a record-breaking majority and the Bloc Québécois will be the official opposition. And the NDP will be lucky if they maintain party status. Yep, Snow is very happy about the election. Oh, I'm sorry for your dark soul. What was that was going around recently that the Conservatives and the Republicans that voted, it's like shitting in an elevator where you're so full of shit and it hurts and you just want to get it out. So you just push it out in the elevator. And in that moment, it feels good because it's finally out. But then you stink and everyone looks at you like you're disgusting. And then you quickly regret it because nobody wants to be around you and you're a horrible person. The policies put in place by conservative governments harm everyone, regardless of what party you're in. And I get that you're probably just trying to rile us up, like tonight we win Nova Scotia, tomorrow Canada. Yeah, sure, have your fun. I don't care. Because, like I said, you're going to get hurt too. We care for more than just the people around us. We care for everyone. And that includes assholes like you. And that want to try to rub in our face the fact that our healthcare is going to get privatized, that people will die in encampments, that people are dying in encampments, that people living with disabilities are turning to medical assistance and dying because they can't get the services they need, that our economies will collapse, that the housing will collapse even further. That's really the country you want? More division between cultural lines as well? You have to be a very miserable person inside to want all of that and to be gleeful at watching other people suffer. And I don't know what happened in your life that led you to that, but it's not going to get any better staying there.